Jesus Christ, episode 9. We only got one left. Victis, and it's the icon back with a DC animated HBO Max Adult Swim television review for you, going over that My Adventures with Superman. And before we get started, hit the notification bell, like and or subscribe. Check out my other reviews for Superman and other projects as well. And let's kick this off. Because this is actually pretty interesting. So in the last episode, Clark tried to go back to the Fortress of Solitude to get his power back. When he gets there, like the Bizarro caveman Superman was the one that brought him to the Fortress of Solitude. When he gets there, there are robots there that meet him, and then they basically take over the mind of the Bizarro Superman, and then they tie Clark up, and they're like, "Why are you here, Kal-El?" And then he said, "I'm here to get my powers back because you guys sent me visions telling me that, this is how I get my powers." And they were just like, "Oh, we sent you no visions because power belongs, to like the worthy, and all you've shown is weakness, the way you handle your power." And then the Brainiac symbol appeared on top of the robot's forehead, and he was like, "Brainiac." And then he was like, "Yes, but not the Brainiac that you fought before." He said, "Because we're uncorrupt." So it's kind of like in the Superman movie, how in the Fortress of Solitude, like Superman, he had the robots, and the robots were just there to help him and assist him. It's the exact same situation. The only difference is these robots kind of have a mind of their own, and they have a conqueror's mentality, based on how they were designed and built in Krypton. So they tell Clark, the robots tell Clark, they're just like, "Hey, we can give you your powers back, but you must prove to us that you're a conqueror and prove to us that you're strong." And then Clark is like, "I actually don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to conquer people." They tell him, like, "You have no choice, it's either that or you get nothing." So he's like, "All right, fine, what do I got to do?" So they put him in this real life virtual reality simulation where he said that the day that the true Krypton was born, Krypton had invaders, and your ancestors killed those invaders, took them over, stole their technology, and used everything that they could to build what we knew as Krypton. He said that the simulation we're going to put you in, this is the day that the invaders come. We want you to, take down the invaders, kill them, and then, like, after you kill them, take your rightful place, of power. And then he was like, "I actually don't want to hurt anybody." So the invaders show up. Clark gets into it with one of them. He starts fighting one of them. During the battle, the invader... And when the invaders showed up, like the invader, because he had a suit on, he fought the invader. The invader got hurt. He hurt his arm. And then that's when Clark, being Clark, he was just like, "You know what?" He's like, "I'm not going to kill you," because when Clark had knocked the guy over and then he stood on top of him, because for some reason this weird power kept coming over Clark, like his eyes kept turning. It's almost like rage kept kicking in. And the rage that was kicking in, I feel like that was being forced by the robots. Like the robots were putting that rage into his system. But then he broke, like when he was about to kill the alien, he snapped out of it. And then instead of killing the alien, he offered the hand of friendship. He made him a sling. He nursed him back to health, and he was like, "Look, I'm going to help you get back to your ship and get back to your people." So Clark helps this alien get all the way back to his people. Like I said, he nursed him back to health, took care of him in a storm. He gets to the camp where his people are. And then when Clark gets to the camp and he sees the people, my first thought was, because the alien at that point, in order for Clark to heal his wounds, he had to take the guy's helmet off. When he took the guy's helmet off to like heal his wounds and take care of him, I'm looking at him. I was like, why he look like Brainiac? He looked exactly like Brainiac, green skin and all. And he even had the Brainiac symbol, or at least 2 dots. He had the Brainiac symbol on his chest, on his suit. So he brings the alien back to his people. The rest of the aliens pull guns out on Clark because they think he's the enemy. And I'm just like, why they all look like Brainiacs though? And then the robot, like when the aliens had their guns pointed at Clark, Clark was like, "Look, I'm a friend. Like, I'm not here to hurt anybody. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm just here to return your fallen soldier." But then the robot showed up into the simulation, and he was like, "It's your time, Kal-El. Kill them, take them down. This is your moment to end them once and for all." And he was like, "No." He's like, "I don't want to do that." He's like, "I don't want to kill them." And then the alien that he helped the entire time woke up and told his people, he was like, "Hey, stand down. He's actually a good person. He helped me. We can consider him a friend." So then after that, then the robot stopped the simulation, and they were just like, "You failed." And then Clark was like, "How did I fail?" Because he said that you put me in this game, and not only did I take down their leader, but I actually got them on my side. Like, I got them to stop without having to kill them. Friendship prevailed in this way, like doing the right thing. He's like, "I didn't have to kill them to take them down." And then he was just like, "No, but that's not the way of the ancestors. That's not why we were built." And then Clark put 2 and 2 together, and they come to find out the alien that he saved, during that simulation, he's the robot that is talking to Clark, the whole time and created the simulation. Because the ancient Kryptonians, they call, like, the aliens, they're the Kaluans. The Kaluans is basically the race of Brainiac people. Even if you watch Supergirl, like the CW Supergirl, Brainiac was on the show. He kept saying all the time how he was Kaluan. Like that's his race of people. Basically, the Brainiac people, the Kaluans, they came to Krypton. They were taken over, kidnapped, and enslaved by the Kryptonians. And the Kryptonians turned them into robots, like turned their consciousness, probably took their brains out, put their brains into metal machines, and like trained them to be servants. Which is why all the robots are basically Brainiac servants, which is crazy. And he said that due to the teachings of, the Kryptonians, what was instilled in us, he said that power must be taken and you must be strong and you must kill your enemies. And then Clark was like, I'm not going to do that. And then they were just like, well, then we're going to kill you, Clark. And then after that, the Bizarro Superman showed up. He punched the robot in the chest and he destroyed the robot. So, so now we're left with the Bizarro Superman's there, Clark's there, but we're still stuck because we're trying to figure out how to get Clark his powers back. That's still a mystery. Now, back on Earth, Kara is still knocked out. The kids are still beat up. Waller shows up and she's just like, I'm taking control of the Kryptonian assets. And then Lois is like, they're just children. Jonathan is a bitch. Jonathan Kent is still a bitch. He was just like, oh, you're playing. Because Lois said, like, oh, like she said that Amanda Waller and I were going to come up with a plan to stop, to stop the Eradicator. And then Jonathan goes, what's your plan, Mom? To have us do all the work while you just stand in the background and do nothing? And I was like, this is ungrateful. And then, she was just like, no. She said, we're going to come up with a plan. And then he was like, well, what does Dad think of the plan? And he's like, matter of fact, where is Dad? And then she said, well, your father went to the Fortress of Solitude to go get his power back. And he was like, see, your plan is just to bring Dad back because I can't do anything. Nobody trusts me. And then Lois got mad. She was like, look, motherfucker. She said, first of all, this whole shit is because of your dumbass, because we're not the ones that got the Eradicator to steal a time courier and go flying throughout space and time. And then he gets upset and he's like, see, I'll never be good enough for you. But I'm like, you just tried to play her like 2 seconds ago. Like, you can't be like, oh, like when she tells you the truth about what you did, you can't be like, see, I'll never be good enough for you, Mom. When 2 seconds ago, you was just like, you don't do shit. You just stand there while we do all the real work. And I'm just like, this ungrateful brat. So he gets mad. He flies off into outer space. Kara wakes up. Jimmy's there with her. The two of them embrace. This is still dragging on. And then Lois asks Kara to go talk to Jonathan. She goes into outer space. She talks to Jonathan on the moon. She's just like, look, your father wasn't perfect, but because he's Superman, everybody believes in him because he never gives up on us. So then Jonathan decides to go back, and then, he kind of like calms down a little bit. Lois talks to Laura. The two of them have an embraceful hug. They go to the wall. Amanda Waller sets up a camp because Lex Luthor used his brain power to find a place in space and time where the Eradicator was going to reappear. John Henry Irons showed up. He built weapons for everybody. I don't know why he's not wearing the steel suit. Lex Luthor tried to dip. He got cursed out by Jimmy. He said, stop being a coward. He said, either be the hero that you think you are or just admit to everybody that you're the villain. So then, he stuck around because he felt bad. So then now, like, everybody's here. Like, the Kryptonians are here. Lois is there. Everybody's there except Superman. And then the Eradicator actually shows up. And then when the Eradicator shows up, it's not the same monster that we saw that they fought in the previous episode. I guess because he went through space and time, he transitioned into something better, something bigger. He actually looked more human. He actually looked more like Superman, like, which was crazy. So he looks a little bit more human now, and he looks like he's evolved into something different. Jonathan tried to cut him in half, and then when Jonathan tried to cut him in half, he split into 2 different people. So he can basically, like, morph his body into like multiple people. He's like clay at this point. So now they don't know how to stop him, and he's about to eradicate the entire planet. He was like, with no Superman here, which was telling, because for you to be like, oh, there's no Superman here, you're actually admitting that Superman could stop you if he really wanted to. And then he was just like, with no Superman here, he was like, I'll take over the world. And that's basically how that ended. And thank you for tuning in. So in this particular episode, like the Kaluan backstory was actually really cool. like the fact that they got into the Brainiac lore, like I did enjoy that. As I said, Jonathan still being a bitch. Like Laura doesn't really do anything except act like Lois with with the second guessing herself. It was good to see the Wall, good to see John Henry Irons, but we got one episode left, so now the Eradicator, like the evolved Eradicator, is about to tear down Metropolis, and Superman is in the Fortress of Solitude, still trying to get his powers back. So share your questions, comments, and concerns down below. What you think about episode 9 of My Adventures with Superman, and let's continue to talk about it. Check me out all over social media, on X, on Instagram, on Twitter, and TikTok, where you can leave your questions, comments, and concerns. One more episode to go. And then like this coming Wednesday, we got episode 9 of X-Men 97. Then there's one more episode of X-Men 97. So that means the Green Lanterns, it starts on the 16th. That's either a Saturday or a Sunday. So by the time I do episode 1 of Green Lanterns, we're only going to have one episode left of Superman and actually Superman will be done because I think Lanterns and Superman both come out on the same day. But once Lanterns episode 1 comes out, is going to be the season finale for Superman and the season finale for X-Men, and hopefully by then I'll finish Batman Cape Crusader as well. So we'll say, guys, thanks for tuning in. So until next time, for some more Superman action, I'm up and away as always, and as always, Raptors, be